Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening,
Welcome
everybody.
welcome to another CMW Live with myself and Nathan Kirkton. Tonight we've got two very, very good patriots who are out there every day busting a gut to bring us what's happening on the coast. So I'm going to introduce them both, and then they can tell you a bit about who they are. You should know them all anyway by now. That's Nobby, little veteran, whose show, I think it's called Mission Impossible on YouTube, and also Active Patriot. I'm not sure what his YouTube is. I think it might just be called Active Patriots. But welcome, guys. How are you both? Nathan. Thank you.
Hi guys, how you doing?
How you doing, Nob? How you doing, Active?
I'm all right, buddy.
Bear with me, people. Slight technical difficulties. Things are running a bit slow at this end.
Yeah. You carry on now. If I'll sort this end while you do that.
Right.
Anyway, Nob, tell us what's happened today first, and what sort of the situation is down at Dover. So imagine that's where you are.
Yes, mate. Been down at Dover since Friday. Came down because we've been keeping an eye on the weather and new things were going to kick off. And due to the fact that Rishi's made this big promise to everyone the other week, and we know why the boats haven't been coming over. But today we've only had one boat in. We had windy weather last night up to about 1 o'clock in the morning here. So that affects the sea until later on during the day. So yeah, we've had one in today, but overall in the past 5 days, including today, roughly about 1,500.
Yeah. And where are you at, Paige? Active, whereabouts are you? You in Nobby or somewhere different?
No, I'm with Nobby. I'm just inside the houses, inside the tent at the minute. But yeah, no, I'm staying at the same place Nobby is.
Yeah, sound. So, guys, tell the people, because a lot of people they still don't realise the benefits of this for the traffickers, things like that, etc. The money for each migrant that the traffickers get is phenomenal, isn't it? And you can understand why they are keen to get as many people over here as possible. So tell them, Nob, how much it costs each one.
Well, between what is it, Active? What, 5 and 7 grand per head to come over, if I'm right?
Well, like you say, it started off between 5 and 7, didn't it? But I mean, they did some summer offers, didn't they, last year? So it price varies. But like you say, if you was to, like you say, price it between, like you say, or 5,000 head or 2,000 head, but it's thousands of pounds per head is what it is, and it's very lucrative if you're bringing thousands across every day.
Yeah.
I
don't know what you
a lot of
guys
people
think.
don't understand that a lot of these contracts they do. This is like slave trade, because a lot of people, when they get to the UK, are going to have to work as slaves to pay off their debt to most of these slave traders. Basically, is what they are. There's that aspect a lot of people don't get as well.
Yeah. And I guess you guys are under the same impression as myself and Nathan. Just because good old Rishi said they're going to stop the boats, even if they stop the boats, they're still going to bring them in, private airplanes in the middle of the night and through the tunnel on coaches in the middle of the night. This isn't going to stop. It's too lucrative.
Mate, the thing with Rishi, right, look, we've been doing this for 3 years now, me and Active, when we first started this off. This is our 4th year. Excuse me. And every single year, normally it's a Home Secretary that comes down, If you remember, Priti Patel came down, done the flyover, done exactly what Rishi did, got on a boat, had a jolly ride round to Ramsgate, to make it look like the government's doing something. But this time Rishi's hung himself due to the fact, instead of the Home Secretary come down, because he saw this 20% lower than last year's numbers, which we now caught up on near enough, he decided to push the Home Secretary away, in my eyes, to come down to get the brownie points for him being the PM, and it's actually backfired on him. So I'd love to see Rishi come out and backpedal and say, well, made a mistake.
But we all know that's never going to happen with these. Well, it's the same with everything they're doing, but people need to wait. You've got to wake up, ladies and gentlemen, to what's going on there. And you've got to tune into these guys on the YouTube channels, and you've got to follow them and support them, because, you know, without these guys, we'd have no clue of the numbers coming in. And they do a fantastic job. And it's, you know, it's down to us to watch what these people, you know, Nobby and Active are doing, and learn from what they're doing, and start showing some support, because without our support, you know, they're down there. Don't forget, these are just 2 people. And, you know, it needs more people down there showing the support to let the government know it's not just 2 people. It's the whole nation that's against it. Because at the moment, we are failing miserably. I'm sorry, lads, but we are. Not you guys, but the average Joe public are failing miserably in the responses to all of this. Before you know it, you know, there'll be none of us left.
Mate,
Yeah,
it's going to
well,
turn. It's good. Sorry, Active. Go on, Active. I'll back off.
No, I was just going to say, like you say, it's people smuggling on a mass scale, and the RNLI have just come out today and trying to say that nothing will deter them from bringing them across, because they see them as people in danger, because they've rescued 108 from the water. But in reality, what they don't tell you is they picked up 290 boatloads of migrants, and that accounted to a quarter of all illegal boat crossings were picked up by the RNLI last year. And as soon as the left-wing media get hold of it after Nigel Farage calls them out, their donations go through the roof. So their donations are up 3% last year, even though operational costs are sky high because of inflation. So this is a money earner for them. And by going in the paper today and publicising it all, the donations are going to go through the roof again.
Well, as Gary said, I think this is why what you two do and what other people do on Instagram is so important, because I think most of us have got to the point now where we do realise that the truth and information is a very one-sided thing with the government and the mainstream media. This is why, as me and Gary always say, people need to follow you two if you want to know the truth, if you want to keep up with it, if you want the proper statistics, if you want the proper numbers, and the actual real situation of what we're dealing with. Follow these two, because they're the ones who are actually on the scene. They're the ones that do this daily. They're the ones that are bringing the real true data, and not the made up statistics that we're seeing from people like Hope Not Hate and all these other basically associations that, like Active just said, that are more about making money off the back of your pulling your heartstrings, rather than actually dealing with or sorting out this situation.
Yeah, the other point I want to get at isn't just me and Active, guys. There's look, if people want to see the other side of the this instead of just the boats and what's going on, you need to get hold of Yorkshire Rose. Yeah, on her YouTube channel, she does all the hotels. She's been doing hotels for how long, Active? Couple of years?
Nearly 3 years now, mate. About 3 years.
3 years. Yeah,
well,
she gone.
What I'll do for the listeners, what I'll do is I'll grab the links for Yorkshire Rose now for you to after, and I shall put them in the description of the video after we've finished at some point. So go to the description of the video and you'll have all the links for all the relevant people.
Yeah, well, this is like, it's not just the boats coming in. We cover the whole story. So this isn't just, like you say, a boatload of illegals coming in. These are going into hotels and they're coming into your area and they're raping the community. They're raping the young girls. They're murdering people. We've had hotels in Skegness where they've raped someone recently. We've had someone sent to jail from a hotel in Stockport. You know, up and down the country, if you see why people are coming out on the streets, it's because people in their area are being targeted by the gangs of these foreign men who we don't know who they are, where they've come from, what their intentions are, and why are we letting them in this country and giving them a free pass and giving them, putting them above us, the indigenous, on the list. I can't get a dentist. They have in-house dentists, doctor's appointments, taxis taking them everywhere, money given out daily, and it's still not good enough. It's still not good enough. Yeah. What do they want? What do we give them? Our own home.
That's
Yeah.
what's going to be next on this, because that they are actually earmarking, and they've already stated there's already cut contracts. Apparently, I haven't got 100% confirmation yet, but apparently there is already contracts being signed. All the new builds of the houses, the majority are going to be earmarked for these so-called immigrants.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
if you're a landlord and a business owner, right, and you have a shareholder that's running your company, if you're being offered millions in contracts where you wouldn't even generate hundreds of thousands a year, but you're being offered millions to just give your hotel up for a year or two. And I know that businessmen in Skegness was buying up hotels, renting it out to the government, and getting more than they paid for their hotel in the first year.
Oh yeah, the contracts for that are gonna the government are kind of doing a very underhanded thing that a lot of landlords I don't think have bothered to look into the legalities of yet. Because a lot of landlords sign a contract, because it used to be 7 years, and their contracts run for, I think it's 6 years, 6 months. But the government have actually changed that now, so they will now become part owner or main owner of them buildings after 5 years. But most landlords don't understand that yet. But because most landlords, like you say, they're just happy. It's like you can have a basic hotel and you could be getting 300 grand for doing nothing. So you're not paying any of the bills for your hotel. You're not paying for any of the upkeep. You're not doing any of the work. You're just sitting on your backside and getting 300 grand a year for doing nothing. And then
but
the
it's like
government
that other
promises
company,
that
innit?
they'll do it all up.
It's like that other company who's working for Serco. They're going round getting landlords to ring them up, and they're saying to them, because someone done a clip on YouTube about it when he rung them up, and they're asking how many properties he had. He actually hadn't had any properties, and they were saying, well, if you want it to go on this scheme with us, you need to get rid of your tenant first, so we don't get no backlash on it. Yeah, when we take over your property.
Exactly, and this is where there has been a hell of a lot of Section 8s and a lot of Section 21s being filed on tenants recently, and this is the reason why it's happening to all people. It's the very reason why they want you out, because they're going to rehome these because they get more money for it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I've got followers in Bradford that have been giving them section notice because the landlord wants to house immigrants, because the government, well, not the government, it's Serco that's running a contract for the government in their area, is offering them, I think it's £400 extra a month in rent and everything else paid for, and like for like damages. But what people don't understand is the tenancy agreements from Serco and the Home Office are nothing like the tenancy agreements you or me get. These tenancy agreements are hundreds of pages long. So if they haven't got a solicitor reading into the technicalities, they're losing their houses at the end of this year.
Oh yeah, but this is what a lot of landlords are not realising. They're going to lose their properties to the government anyway, because the government as like you say, I've had sight of partial sight, should I say, to be correct, of some of these contracts, and like you say, some of them are thousands of pages long, and I don't think a lot of landlords, even with their own solicitors, are going to go against it, because some of the wording in it is very telling. It's pretty much going to mean that the government are more than likely going to own the majority of the properties in England, Ireland, Wales, and I think they're actually going for a hell of a lot of Scotland at the moment as well.
Yeah,
it's nefarious, but you're going to have to go through the thing, and this is the problem as well. And most of these immigrants, unlike most of us, are being given assured tenancies. We don't get assured tenancies anymore, so they won't be able to kick them out, even if they wanted to.
And don't forget, it's not just going to be, at the moment, it's just people who own their houses, who are renting them out. But once them have all been taken up, don't think for 1 minute they're not going to come for ordinary people who've got mortgages with different, whatever your mortgage broker is, before they start playing the same game as them and kicking you out. It's going to escalate this if you don't wake up and do something about it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look in your areas especially northern towns where I come from, because I've been taking notice, a lot of the old empty buildings, rundown buildings, are being snapped up and they're being converted into little makeshift flats, HMOs.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah,
an actual I've got an
how's the
HMO
boat
down my
occupancy?
street with boat migrants in where I live. It's
Good.
I've seen my town. Like Ali Dawah described my town as the most racist town in the UK, and now I would quite happily walk you down one street in my town and show you 8 Albanian, Turkish hairdressers, car washes full of illegals, HMOs full of illegals. My town in the
Yeah.
last 18 months has just gone. It's not the same town.
Just for the people who are listening, a HMO is a house of multiple occupancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's where they turn a 3-bedroom house into a 6-bedroom, a block of so-called flats, self-contained flats, and they get basically 5 times as much rent as they get for the 3-bedroom house.
So they basically turn them into dormitories then.
Pretty much. Yes.
Yeah, you get a shared kitchen, a shared shower, and you get a bed with a wardrobe in. Because I actually gained access to the boat migrant HMO in my street. But yeah, they've got everything, and they've got their own case manager. They've got a special number to ring up in case anybody like me knocks on the door, because it takes them straight through to someone. Because I had to talk to someone after I gained entry, because obviously they couldn't understand English. So but yeah, they've got everything. It's crazy.
Well, I did a walk and talk. I did a walk and talk along the canal the other week, and across the other side of the canal was this beautiful housing estate. It used to be called Elkington's. It used to be a big, massive industrial complex factory, and it went for when you watch the video, it goes for a fair long time. It's massive when you look across from the canal to the road. There's a few. Let's face it, there's a few hundred, if not a couple of thousand houses on there. Now, people in this area have gone to put the name down, for when this is finished, and they've got back from the council. Sorry, they're already all taken. So that's been built for.
Yeah, good. Actually, I think we've all spoke about this before, me and you. I think we all spoke about it before. But in the chat, we've got a question for me. Is that what happened to all the money that we've been sending France, and millions upon millions upon millions? Mainly that what a lot of people don't realise is the whole deal of us sending money to France is not to stop the boats; it is to help curb the flow of boats. So it's meant to kind of. It's more about reducing it's more about reducing the amount rather than stopping it. So it's like a play on words, really. But there has been a massive centre built in France, but is nowhere near the capacity. I believe we spoke about this, Nigel. There's nowhere near the capacity of what it's going to need. So it's either going to have more money spent on it, or it's not going to do. But
the other thing, the French have actually put fencing around the beaches that the migrants use to stop anyone getting onto the beaches. But all the migrants done, as we've seen this week, is now move beaches. Yeah, they moved to a different beach. Now, roughly, we've worked out that these dinghies, once they come from France, where they're taking, where they're setting off from, and when they get to the centre of the channel or further down opposite Dungeness, and then they get picked up and brought into Dover, the round trip those migrants are doing is 60 miles approximately. Each dinghy is doing now because of the distance they've moved, because of they are trying to stop it, but not enough on the beaches. Because as soon as Russia made that deal with France, the next day France had hired a Danish boat, right, to sit in the middle of the channel to escort across, right, with the other French boats they already had. And now they have a Danish boat, a Panama boat, sorry, and that's also been hired, which is stuck out in the middle of the channel, along with the French warships to escort these boats over. But look, they using warships, That's like me standing on the top of my house, on the roof, leaning down and trying to pick active out of my garden and bring him onto the top of the roof. It ain't going to happen, These vessels the French are using, filling them up with our money, to escort these over, are too big to actually pick up anyone. They're there just for escorting. So if there's 5 or 6 vessels out, it's going to be a busy day, because you have the plane flying around. Yeah, you got to remember the logistics side of this with the drones, the planes, the ships, and everything on the French side. There's buckets of money being chucked over, but for the wrong reason, because all they're doing is bringing more across.
Exactly, and a lot of people don't know that there is actually all the boats that have been being used for the wind farms and mainly the maintenance of wind farms and that lot. That's why you're seeing a lot of like on the news sometimes a lot of like wind turbines that on these wind farms that are having a lot of like mishaps because there's actually government contracts our government has set up. So the boats from the wind that was actually dealing with the wind farms are now actually got contracts to go out and pick these immigrants up.
Yeah, and
because they have low-lying platforms to be able to get onto these things.
Yeah, they've got 5 at the moment. We've heard they've got another 4 on standby, just in case things pick up.
Yeah. To me, it's like it angers me because to me it just seems like a reversal of D-Day. Only when they come across this way, nobody's firing bullets at them to stop them entering or to get them to go back. It's just
yeah, mate. And that attack is going on as we speak 79 years ago, because D-Day was only a few last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, mate, and that sickens me, mate. You know what? It sickens me. I'm walking on those cliff tops, mate, where Second World War, our soldiers were marching up and down, protecting our borders. You know what I mean? Look, we're border force, right? They're civil servants. This is another thing we need to chat about. If the Rwanda deal goes through and the immigration bill goes through, the civil servants said that they're looking to go on strike. Now that includes border force. Now, yep. But the thing what annoys us is how come border force 3 years ago, when all of this started and they got ordered to pick them up, because they have been ordered to pick them up, right, and bring them in. Why haven't they stood up then and said, oh, well, hang on a minute, we're border force, we're here to protect our country, we're not here to demolish it by bringing illegal immigrants in. But this border force situation, they've turned such left-wing organisation now, right, in the past 3 years, that
it's right on purpose.
It shows you that because they want to go against the Rwanda deal when we want to fly them out, but they're happy bringing them in. Wow, you know what I mean?
Well, this is another thing. A lot of people are aware of these things, but I think a lot of this is we're going to have to start putting all these pieces together, because people need to understand it's like a lot of people will know, but in a lot of sectors, be it police, the fire brigade, border force and things like that, they are being very selective on their recruiting. So they're not recruiting people that are going to be against the amount of flow that's coming. They're actually recruiting people that are going to be more for it. I mean, we've actually got laws about, and these are internationally agreed treaties to stop this actually happening, that the government could enact today. And then we could actually fire upon these boats. So what a lot of people don't realise, our army and our navy could actually be sent out to stop this in one. But the government, for some reason, are choosing to push UN treaties before our own actual constitutional and our own laws. I mean, laws that would actually come from the Second World War, like we said, from D-Day and things like that, and for reasons for it. I mean, if I was to get into a boat and go to France, I'd be spending a long time in a French prison. If I was to go on holiday to France, lose my passport and just try and come over on one of them boats, I would spend a lot of time in a prison here. So I don't understand it. Why? I mean, we know they destroy their passports of that. Why is nothing being done in this manner? I mean, I know a lot of people, because this has always been my question. I mean, it's like I've not had anybody on that side be able to give me any answer to it, really. I've always said the same thing. If we're going to go on a humanity level, should all these leftist groups and all these sympathising groups, should they not, if they are truly about humanity and how poor these poor people and it's their welfare, but if we can't facilitate, like it's already our NHS is crumbling, our whole infrastructure is crumbling under the numbers. If we can't facilitate the amount we've already got here, we are actually putting these people in grave danger by bringing more over. But none of them want to deal with that aspect.
But we all know that that's bullshit, because they know full well the left don't want to hear any more than we do. They're just virtual signal. Because you've all seen the videos where the left are out marching with the placards, and there's a guy around going around with a clipboard saying, would you like to volunteer to have one of these come and stay at your house? I can't. My landlord won't allow it. They don't want them any more than we do. It just looks good on camera. That's all that is.
Yeah, that was correct, not political, Jim. Good lad he is.
We've got a question from King Dalcart. Panel, I wonder if you could shed light on the fact that security guards are always foreigners. That's basically what we've just been talking about, King Dalcart. It's the application selection process. This is about it's going across the board. I mean, it's being said about the tube and everywhere. They're saying minorities disproportionately represented within our infrastructure. So when you're talking things like border force, underground, police, fire brigade, they're saying that more minorities need to be hired, and there's actually, and I think I've actually put this out there, and some of the documents actually, they're actually saying now that they can't hire Indigenous white people. They have to put through basically these minorities. Even for the fire brigade, they've actually lowered it. So if you are a minority, you do not have to meet the criteria an Indigenous white person would have to be in the fire brigade. And they're doing that across the board with every single job, every single government body, really, or association. Like I said,
can I just throw one out there for conspiracy theorists? Right. So when this started hotting up like 3 years ago, I mean, some people have been asleep because of COVID and have not seen the invasion. You know, like because we've been covering it 3 years, and we only know the people that have woke up that know. So we know any people that are just waking up now to the extent of what's going on. So 3 years ago, Napier Barracks. So the security firm that was in control of Napier Barracks was AK Security. Their website had 2 AK-47 guns, you know, loads of Muslims that was running it. Their chief guard had his number plate covered up, and one night I went round to Napier Barracks late at night, and I got his number plate, private number plate, and it was Jihad. Jihad was his private number plate. So we're in an army barracks full of migrants. With a chief security guard with a personalised number plate, Jihad, and we're being told that these ISIS coming over, terrorist cells. So what's going on in these fucking army barracks?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I would urge everybody to look into the symbolism of this, i.e. the 2 Cost AK-47s, and look into groups that are internationally known that use that logo. Yeah. And you'll see for yourself.
Yeah, he did his best to hide that number plate from me, because he used to follow me around the edge of the site every day, and he did his best. I knew who it was. I knew basically he was some London guy that was obviously been in the country for quite a few years and was established. This wasn't the wages. He was on a brand new BMW X5 or 6 or something at the time. You know, this isn't the job of what wages you're going to get for being a security guard. You know what I mean?
You're talking a £40,000 to £50,000 car.
Exactly. How much is a number plate worth? Because I thought offensive number plates were illegal.
Well, a lot of personalised number plates are illegal. They have to meet certain criteria. So, especially offensive ones, because they clamped down on that legislation quite a few years ago. So, I would question why that is legally allowed to be on the road.
That's it. Yeah, it was like you say. I think it was J11HAD. Jihad private plate.
Yeah, I remember that one. And he had a white car, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was an X5 or 6, like you say, brand new.
Yeah.
But no, it just adds more to what's going on, because like we have people saying the UN soldiers that have been trained in Greece, but like we know full well that these are the majority, like you say, Afghanis, Africans, a lot of them coming from Middle Eastern countries. Just coming, like you say, I was in Turkey, 2018, I think, when Erdogan entered the jails and he told them to go and rape and pilgrimage Europe, and he kicked out all the wrong uns out of Turkey. And this is that now, like 6-7 years later. This is the effects what certain countries like that have had by emptying their jails and sending them all across here.
Well, this is what it's like before the show I was discussing with you two. I mean, it's like people need to really go and read the Barcelona Declaration of 1995, because that is that links with the Marrakesh Agreement and a few other treaties. But they actually guarantee the acceptance of Islam by the use of our laws, our media, and any other means at their disposal. This goes back a long, long way, a long, long way. We have a question. Sorry if I don't pronounce this correctly, but Parkow. It's a question to the panel. Do the panel realise what the Rwanda deal entails? We have to take
Yes.
one disabled Rwandan for every illegal immigrant we send there. Check the bill; it states in black and white. It actually entails a lot more than that. It is a very one-sided, nefarious document when you actually read it and you understand what it means, and we pay for it all. Well, taxpayer.
Yeah, but the most scariest part of it is we will take a migrant with serious mental or disabilities from their country, like a Congolese national that's probably only ever run around his country with a spear in his hand, and we're going to bring him back to our country to allegedly give him the mental help he needs, not to give him a sword and to go and tell him to go into a concert and go and stab people up. You know, I'm not just against boat migrants. I'm against all immigration, right? Because I've been following this, and I'm a part of, like you say, I've been helping out Parents Against Grooming charities, and hearing stories daily about kids being raped and women being tortured and people being stabbed, aspiring people that was going to be in our navy, and like these people that was going to play sport for England yesterday that was just stabbed up. Kids had the rest of their lives going for them, be stabbed up for people that shouldn't be in our country. The first duty of any government is to protect its citizens. This country is on its knees, and this government's failed.
That is very true. Sorry. So our army, one thing is the same as America: protect from threats, foreign and domestic. It's one of the main priorities, as activists, of any government. Anybody that's there is to protect the citizens. But then again, they attack the wording because once we nationalise and bring these people in and call them citizens, they then become party to that. But this is the thing: what constitutes a citizen? I mean, I never myself will be named or known as a citizen because I know what it entails. But, there's a lot of people who have got to start understanding. This is very widespread. This is a very big web, and it involves a lot. I mean, like I was discussing earlier, even in our British Army at the moment, that we have had record slashes of every single, across the board, if you name it, every single part of our armed forces has been completely cut over the last couple of decades.
Oh, mate, we've only got about 28,000 fighting troops in the British forces at the moment. The rest are logistics.
Yeah, 80,000, I think it is in total. Around is the number.
28,000 fighting, the rest of the logistics to support the fighting troops. We got nothing, mate.
And a fair chunk of these people are the people that just sit behind a desk who have never seen combat, have never seen any active duty or anything. They've just sat behind a desk and pushed papers. This is what we're dealing with. But at the same time, they're now saying that minorities are disproportionately represented in our armed forces now as well. So you can see what angle they're probably going to go with that as well.
But have you seen? Did you know when they actually started cutting back the army? Right, that was in roughly about 1991, 92.
They actually started in 67, believe it or not.
Yeah, the first, what I know of, mate, with the redundancies, when they started hacking back when I was in, it was horrendous, mate. You know what I mean? Because we lost most of the experience out of our regiment in one cull, and it left us with a regiment with no experience because they got rid of the guys we needed to pass the experience down to the younger guys.
Yeah. And if you look at the Nice Treaty, Nathan, which me and you got into detail with, that's to do with the Channel, and that's the reason why we can't just turn them around and send them straight back. But it was the Nice Treaty that caused the barons to actually invoke 61 in 2001.
That is the straw that broke the camel's back, and the barons are actually standing up now. The barons are actually standing up against a lot of things. It's like we discussed the other day, but since Tony Blair, Parliament have done so many things. It's like the legislation they're pushing through, they can't get through the barons in the House of Lords, so they're now pushing it through as secondary legislation. People would have heard me speak on this before, but it takes their scrutiny. So when Parliament put through these things like these secondary legislations, it pretty much, as Parliament says yes, it goes through. So our usual avenues to check Parliament, i.e. our Constitution, the House of Lords, are being bypassed.
And that's why it's the ideal time now to strike with the Lords, with the barons, get into 61 and get these scumbags sorted out once and for all. Because it's a nice treaty to do with, like I say, the boat crossings and that. No, but that's caused all this. And they saw straight away it was treason. So that's why they invoked it.
But this is it. It's multiple treaties. I mean, the European Union and the UN have been subbing this up since, I think, started about 63, really, when their plan really started to come together and they formed it. And obviously, we went into the European Communities Act in 1973, and it's been going on then, decade by decade. And this is what people don't realise, because it's not in one treaty. All this has been spread out across multiple treaties, and in every treaty, it's like the Lisbon Treaty. That's another one. Lisbon Treaty have dates, and certain things kicked in, i.e. 2007, 2009 are some of the main dates, and they put these in these treaties. So people, they're the kind of sleeping dangers, if you get what I mean. They kind of sit there at the back of this treaty, nobody pays attention to them because they're a decade away. Then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 treaties all kicking together, and then that's it. These things just happen, and they're going to do nothing about it. As I said, the government have already signed up to these things. So if we're expecting the government to all of a sudden, like Rishi's, abide by his promises and stuff like that, they're not going to, because what they say is different to what they've signed us up to. And this is why it's like voting and our consent. We've got to remove our consent. We are literally giving these people carte blanche to do all this, because we are not taking away their consent, i.e. our sovereignty. And again, to mention the Nice Treaty, that's why the barons said, because it's our sovereignty they need to give them legitimacy to do this. If we undergo Dipadarsho removed, we can actually, as well, under our constitution, we can actually protect our shores. Our government will have to act. That there is so much that people need to really start diving into now. I mean, this is now the time to really focus, concentrate, get behind the people like you and Active and Yorkshire Rose. Get behind the people that are really bringing you the truth, because you are not going to get the truth. And we should all know this by now. We all went through COVID. We should know this, but we're not going to get the truth from any mainstream media or any government body. So we need the people like you two to actually keep doing this, and to do this, we have to start supporting people like you more.
Yeah, mate, it is. Look, it is our going. I got here Friday, and by when did you come? Active? Sunday night? No, Monday night. Active. It's gone on me. Well, I think you turned up. Are you there?
I'm here, mate. Yeah, you're all right. I don't know if my reception went, because I got.
When did you turn up?
What do you mean? Turn up where?
Here.
Not yesterday. Before, in midnight, about midnight the day before yesterday.
Monday evening.
Yeah, Monday evening.
So from Friday morning at 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock Monday evening, I'd had 7 hours sleep down here, because people don't see what actually goes on down here, guys. It isn't just going out and filming. We're on these boating apps 24 hours a day to make sure we know when those boats are leaving. I'm tracking them from France, and look, the French boats are picking them up about 2 miles off the French coast. Yeah, why are they turning them back? They're actually escorting them for at least 2.5 hours to the centre of the channel before they even sort of register to pick up from Border Force, so they can come out and pick them up. Then we're running down to Dungeness. It is we work our butts off out here, and it's Do you know what annoys us is you get the people who watch you and, oh, why aren't anything being done? Why isn't anything being done? Why aren't we stopping this? Well, we've called demos. We've done everything we can you know what I mean, to try and, especially down at Dover, to get the support, to get people down there. But there just seems to be a lack of backbone, you know what I mean? And look, these demo situations, guys, we've got to get out of our heads in this, in England, right? Not in Wales, right? Wales does it different. But in England, these demos we do, right, they're not to turn up at midday, stay there till 2 o'clock and then piss off to the pub, otherwise it ain't worth turning up. You might say, you need to get down there when the time is, and you've got to look at let's do these demos for 24 hours, get a rotation of people leaving and coming back, because 2-hour demos, everyone's laughing at us around the world, let alone
stop doing them on a Saturday.
And stop doing them on a Saturday. You might as well go and stand in your back garden, shout your wall, go down your local pub and go home.
Exactly. I mean, most people, and this is not attacking most people, because I know that most people seem to just turn up. It's like you say, Bobby, it's a day out. They turn up, take a few photos, have a few drinks, go home, post it on Facebook, so they were there. The thing is, we need to actually, we need to follow through. It's another reason. It's like, for instance, the Long March to Freedom. That is not a one-day march. We need to start doing these marches properly, and not just the marches, not just the protests. We need to actually follow through with what we need to do within law for that. It's like myself and Gary keep saying, that's diffidatio. That's removing your fealty from the Crown and Parliament so they can no longer do this. Let's make them illegitimate. If we remove our fealty, they are illegitimate. They have no power. We can take back control. We can change this round.
And people have got to stop feeling, in my opinion, guys. I mean, I love what you guys do. And, I have been down to Dover, not with you guys, but I've been there and seen it for myself.
Well, we went to Nobby's first demo down Dover.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I've been, with the wife walking along the cliffs and that, and seeing them coming, it's frustrating to see. But people have got to stop feeling sorry for these people when they say the minority in this country. Of course they're going to be the minority in this country. They've come from somewhere else. It's like me, you, and it's like us 4 guys going to China, then complaining with the minority in the country. We're not. There's 68 million of us here. It's just we've decided to get to China. And this is what people have got to start getting and wrapping their heads around. These people are not the minority of anything. There's as many of them as there are us. They've just decided to leave their country and come here, but they're trying to take it over. Our laws, our regulations and that, and it's got to stop. And that's what people need to understand. Once you can grasp that, they're not the minority, it should be easy.
That's exactly it. If you take the UN statistics, most of the international government statistics, globally, the Western nations, the indigenous nations, are actually the minority of globally. This is what a lot of people don't understand. So when we're talking about minorities, and we're talking about things like the WF, the UN, the EU, and things like this, and all these kind of associations, they go on about minorities, but we are actually the minority in the world. So if they want us to be a global community, we are indeed the minority of that global community. And this is what people have really got to start to grasp.
Yeah, did you hear about the UN this week as well, sticking their noses into our armed forces?
Yep.
They kept,
Yep, this is the thing. Just to explain a bit about the UN are the ones that, instead of our unalienable rights, which cannot be breached in any way by any government or any crowd, they're the ones that constructed the human rights. And it says in their own declaration that courts, the government, any authority, all they have to do is that human rights are only to be taken into consideration. It states it in the preamble of the Human Rights Act. So they decide if you go by your human rights, they decide when they're applicable and when they're not. And I can tell you now, 99% of the time they will not be applicable. And we're also talking about the UN. These are the people that come up with the idea that children of 3 to 4 should be taught about having sexual partners. It's the UN that are coming up with most of these agendas that we're seeing, like the story hours and stuff like that. So start looking into the bodies that we speak about. Start looking into the treaties. Look for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Because if everybody started looking into this, you'll see it for yourself. Because many people, like in the chat, saying it's there in black and white. All you have to do is read it.
And see, these
Yeah.
people are actually look at the nationalities of these people, who they actually are. It all makes sense, because this has been going on for years. It happened with the in the revolution of Russia. They took it over, then they decided to leave Russia and set up the UN. It's the same people who did the Russian Revolution, and the same people who are doing what they're doing now, only on a global scale. But people don't want to look, and they don't want to see it for themselves. But it's true.
We are talking about oligarchs here. This is the thing. Again, history is a great teller. This is another reason why they want to do away and they're trying to change our history. Because, as Gary says, if you do your research in history and you look at what the oligarchs have done, the revolutions, the ones in Britain, the ones in Russia, across the whole of Europe and the world, really, these are all down to oligarchs. These are rich people who want to control the world, like the WF. A lot of people still don't grasp the fact that every major leader in the world, in any government or any position of power, are actually they all come from the World Economic Forum's. Basically, it's their college. So every single leader, you've got Macron, Merkel, I believe Sunak actually, I think went through it. Every single world leader went through training by the World Economic Forum, and as the World Economic Forum boasts, they are now in every single authority, every position of power. They have infiltrated the whole world. It is. We are the majority as people, and this is where we've got to put our petty things aside, whether it be race wars, ideology, things like that. And we've got to start to realise there is a war going on, but it's not amongst ourselves. This is a group, like it always has been. This is a small group of rich people who seek to control everything, and they are.
Yeah,
and they ain't going to stop.
The thing what we need to do, guys, is the ones who want to come together on the right need to come together, and the people who don't want to come together and always cause the hassle, mate, leave them behind. Leave them behind. And I'll tell you something, right, from a veteran's point of view, with what's going on in the channel, right, and with what I've been hearing on social media and my own thoughts on this, right, if we're all not going to come together, right, one advice I can give to everyone else, yeah, make sure your house is prepared. Make sure you're prepared, right, for what's going to come. Because I'm not mucking about, right? I've seen ethnic cleansing, and if they kick in, mate, right? You've seen these preachers gobbing off in London and that, right? Saying, "Come, we're calling for the Muslim army to rise and take down the government and all this." These guys are still preaching, guys, yeah. And I'll tell you something. I've seen ethnic cleansing in Bosnia, and if it does happen, right, you're all out for yourselves, people. Because if we can't come together to fight as a one, yeah, you're going to be on your own. Yeah, and it's a scary place to be on your own, and I'd rather be with people, yeah, the same mentality, who are willing to stand up and, you know what I mean, leave the rest behind. They don't want to come along with us, fuck them off.
Gary, can you just mute while you're talking, because I'm getting a lot of feedback from you, if you don't mind, please. But yeah, you're exactly right, Nobby. Like I said, it's like we're all seeing that food shortages are going to happen. I mean, I can tell you now, again through history, that it always happens the same way when it's to do with war or anything like that. War always breeds a lack of basically supply chain, stuff like that, and you always get famine, disease, and you always get a mass population decrease. Mainly not just the war. It's actually the war is actually the minor part. It's actually the famine and the disease that kill more people because of war situations, and we see that across the world now. I would urge everybody, to the point where even the WHO state this a lot, have reserves of food and water. Make sure that if the system goes down, that you can survive it, because the shops and the shelves will be empty. And I can guarantee you, law and order and the society and civilization, it takes literally 2 to 3 days for it just to completely decrease. And we see this in countries in the world today.
Yeah, I agree with Nobby, actually, that people have got to stop having their hands over their ears and shutting their eyes. They've got to take their hands off their ears, open their eyes, and actually look what's going on, because it's not a joke. It's not going to slow down. It's never going to stop unless the people themselves unite together and stop it. That's the only way this is going to stop. But I'm just grateful we've got you guys and others who, if you're doing cracking job you're doing, that are out there every day filming it back to show you people that it is getting, it's actually not going to stop. And that's all we can do.
You have to unmute, Nobby. Nobby, you have to unmute your mic, mate.
Yeah, that's better, isn't it? Yeah, mate, this is never going to stop. Look, what Nathan was just saying then about food shortages, yeah? If you have a look when that dam was taken down, whoever done it, Russia, Ukraine, or wherever it was, right, who took it down, they've warned us already there's going to be a shortage because the water's flooded crops, right, which are, I think they're the biggest output of grain, aren't they, or wheat, or whatever it is. Now, they've also told us that those floodings has taken out acres and acres and acres of land. They've told us already that next year and the year afterwards, there's going to be lack of wheat or whatever it is, which they big exporters of. So they're pre-warning you already.
Yeah. Look at NATO's idea of using, I think it's depleted uranium ammunition in Ukraine. That would. Ukraine's one of the biggest exporters in the world of food. That would cut out so much land that could be able to be used. We won't have it. I mean, we're already seeing globally things like fertilizer and stuff like that. We got it in England, we've got it in Wales, we've got it in Scotland. Farmers are now not being able to heat. We're going back to how it was in the 70s and 80s when we will have seasonal produce. We're already seeing that because our farmers can't even afford to heat their greenhouses, so we can have produce out of season. Life is going to change.
Yeah, going back.
I shared a video the other week. You know, I think I put it on my walk and talk in Argentina, where one chicken got sick, so they destroyed 500,000 chickens and over 1 million eggs. And I put the video where it showed you them picking pallets and pallets and pallets, went for miles, these eggs, just dropping them into a ditch that pre-dug out for that reason. So if you think just that area alone, how much decimated that's going to be with eggs and chicken and stuff, just that area alone, and they're going to be doing that everywhere. It's been done deliberate, and they're blaming, one cow or one chicken sick, we've got to kill the whole herd. If it's a cow, we've got to kill them all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And if they don't blame that, mate, they'll end up blaming Russia for everything else.
Yeah, that's the thing about now. It's nothing to do with NATO that has expanded exponentially in the last 40 years. Nothing to do with that. It's all to do with Russia. Everything's Russia's fault. The same as I put it out. I would love to have someone from these sympathising groups to come on and actually have a discussion. I don't want a debate. I want a discussion. It's like we say now, but we're about to see food shortages, stuff like that. Are we not putting all these people? What's the point of bringing all these people to our shores if we can't feed them, if we can't give them medical care?
Yeah.
If we can't give them meet their basic needs, then is that not more dangerous than leave them where they are and trying to sort the problem? I mean, I'm not being funny. The biggest thing we could do to sort this problem is to tell NATO to get out of most of these countries, to be honest.
Yeah. But can I pick up another point as well, right? People have got to stop. Look, the government and the news channels generate smoke screens, right? Happens all the time, yeah? Like the last one, Philip Schofield, right? They've hammered that. They've hammered it, and it's still going on. It's one of the big things on news. You hear it all the time. These are smoke screens just to take the mind off of the real issues in this country, which they're not talking about, right? Which keeps your mind off of it if you're programmed into watching crap TV or whatever, yeah? They, on the news and that, right? Try and block out these stupid little things they're putting out yeah, just to dilute the real issue. Yeah, the real issue is migration. Yeah, illegal immigration. Yeah, what's happening to our country, right? We're losing absolutely everything. We're losing our identity, right? They're trying to take our history away. Why should our history be taken away? You know what I mean? Diversity doesn't work. I go to the government and everyone else who's trying to ram diversity down our necks, right? Go to Africa, right, and say exactly the same about their country and make them become white. Yeah, and put more white people in their black country. You understand where I'm coming from? Because that's what's happening. It's only white countries which are getting made to be diverse. Yeah, they're not worried about the black countries. Yeah, why is that happening? Yeah, this diversity shit and this political correctness has gone fucking well out of hand, and which has fucked up the whole of this fucking country.
Well, it's the Kalergi plan and basically Agenda 21 of the World Economic Forum meeting of 1992.
Yeah,
coming into play.
Plan's well in flow, mate.
Oh yeah, it's lockstep. I mean, read all these documents. I mean, these are not conspiracy theories. Most people just turn away from these and say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory." Well, that is just either you're either lazy, or you just can't, or you to say things are conspiracies that you can literally it's their documents we're reading from. I mean, it's like this is what I say. It's like Robbie, you just said. It's like the stories we're pummeled with, and the stories that are created. Things like the things that have happened recently are created to actually keep our attention away. It doesn't just happen with mainstream media. I mean, it's like, I praise anybody for trying to bring awareness and stuff out, but like I said, it's take YouTube, been doing this for years, and the data you put out is correct. You put more data out than anybody else that I actually know that's doing it, but yet most people will rather watch somebody on Facebook, their favorite person on Facebook, who probably has been in the movement for the last 2 years, who has barely even touched the surface of all this, and we all get ignored. We get labelled as conspiracy theories because we're further along, and some of these people, believe it or not, either through ignorance or are actually put in place. This is also designed to take your attention away from what you really need to be concentrating on. We need solutions, and there is solutions out there, but the problem is people got to realise, and we keep saying this, the solution is not with any government. No one man or one group are going to solve this. It is going to take each and every one of us. You are all responsible, or should I say we are all responsible for what happens. We are all responsible for the things that go on, and we are all going to be responsible individually and collectively for the solutions. And it's time we actually get onto that train of thought. We are all the solution. Not one of us.
Mate, it's our generation. It's our generation who's got to stand up here, right?
Yeah.
We've been passed over this country, right, to make sure this country's in a good state, right? We got passed over it from our parents, our grandparents, right? And we've been passed it over to nurture this country, right? Keep it as it is, like they did in the Second World War. They fought for everything, right, to keep this country, right? And we need to do it. And we need to hand it to our grandchildren and our children, right, in a good state like what we got it, right, so they can then pass it on to their next generation, right? People have got to start thinking, stop thinking that this is going to go away, right? We all need to stand up and unite, and you've got to do it, not for your groups or whatever, for you and your bloody kids, yeah. Your grandkids, because your grandkids and your kids have no future in this country, yeah, if our generation don't stand up. And I mean that, and look, some of us will have to take the can, yeah,
we will.
And if you don't, look, as I said to Active today, we got 5 years before anything, a max before something kicks off in this country, yeah, as in civil war, right?
Yep.
And you think I'm joking? Yeah, keep playing, right? If we get another 45,000 this year, another 45,000 next year, 45,000, mate, we're outnumbered. Yeah, we're gonna get. Wait, when this lot kick off, they're out with machetes already in this country, slicing people up.
Look at Ireland, look at Scotland. Right. It's already happened.
Yeah.
No, right. Look, mate. Right. So they've just given amnesty to 40,000 boat migrants from certain countries. 1 minute, you're right, because I just lost my train of thoughts. What were you just saying there, Nobby, before that? Because something fucking triggered me then, and I've just lost my train of thoughts because I just looked at this cat come to attack me. Well, I've got black cats and everything going around me, mate. I'm outside at the minute, so I'm in a quiet place, and it's very scary.
Oh, I know where you are.
I mean, what you've just said, Nobby,
Oh no, that was it.
Okay,
Sorry, no,
no,
right. No, 1 minute. Sorry, let me just put in right. So Rich is just right without doing any checks yet. We don't know who these people are, where they've come from. He's just give amnesty to 40,000 and give them the 5-year leave to remain, which gives them rights to work and stuff like that. And it also gives when you get the 5-year leave to remain. This is a key point. It gives you the reunification. It gives you right to have family
Thank you.
reunification, which means you can apply
Thank
to have
you.
your family from your home country brought across. So that 40,000 migrants turns into about 350,000 migrants when they bring the family over. Once they've been given the amnesty and they've got the 5-year leave to remain, they can then apply to have the whole family brought here at a cost to us and been put in 5-bedroom houses, big Afghan families getting 5-bedroom mansions, while we've got English people dying and rotting in the doorways, yeah? Everything is
We actually,
wrong.
in England, we actually have families, and that is adults and children who are actually homeless. We actually see that situation now. We are literally, statistically speaking, worse off than we was in the 1800s at the moment, as far as like living standards are. I mean, and you're exactly right, actually. But a lot of people don't realise that, and why they've got this 5 years leave and things like that. We're actually paying for their families out there and that as well. It's already been happening. We've actually had if people actually dive into statistics, some of the biggest benefit towards happening are people claiming for children that are outside of the country. And it's literally the amount of money we leech and the amount and what's happening is like we are literally second class citizens. The Barcelona Declaration makes sure of this. A lot of other things make sure of this. Like I keep saying, it's like this is why it's so important, like the work you do, because it's like you are really seeing, and I'm going to put all the links to all the relevant people you need to see, like Yorkshire Rose and that lot, in the link to this video. But you really need to go and actually have a look at this data, because these are two of the people that are actually bringing you real-time data, and they are actually showing you the real state of affairs, not something you're seeing on the BBC. This is
I'm
the
going
real
to say,
state of affairs.
right, so like you say, I covered immigration, but I like to show you what's really happening in the country. So we do homeless appeals, and we go round and we like clothe and give sleeping bags, emergency blankets to the homeless, and we go around the whole country. And in the last 2 years, it has just been crazy. The amount of homeless people on our streets, women on our streets. I met one woman who through no fault of her own, her family was in a car crash and they lost her son. And so she had a marriage breakdown and she run away from home and she was in a shop doorway, yeah, with no help and support because she'd run away from her area. And you've got to be living in an area 6 months before that local council can help you. So because she wasn't from that area, she had to live in a shop doorway while she's grieving from the loss of her son and the breakup of her marriage. Yeah. And then we've got no help for that woman.
Yeah, and that's not to mention the fact that that woman's going to have to prove she's been there, living there for 6 months. So claiming benefits in that area, all these things need to be set up, established, and this can often, and we all know the state of the benefit system at the moment, that can often take a few months to even establish. So by the time they've established, she's already probably done 3 months of living in a doorway before she even gets to start proving the start of that 6 months. I don't think people really dive into this enough. And I think what you do is amazing, actually. And I think this is why it needs to be published more. As I said, this is why I think we need regular updates on it, because I don't think people really, really understand the state of what's happening. Because most people focus on one or two things, but you've got to look at this as the bigger picture. This is all one big spider's web, and when you look at it in that aspect, then you truly see the magnitude of what is actually happening, and you'll see where we're going.
This is it. They're being forced out through the guise of inflation, rent increases, cost of living. They're being forced out of their homes under the guise of that it was immigration and that landlords are waiting to take that money, to take the milk, to take the gravy, and just live happily, not knowing because they're not from that area. They don't care about the damage they cause to that area and the misery. They just care about profit and money. And things like William and Nobby, this is why people probably don't get us and some people do get us is we've been brought up with fuck all. We've never had anything. We don't crave for anything yet. all we do is care about our country and protecting our women and children. And people need to grasp that and get out of us. It's not about us. It's not about egos. I don't like putting my face on camera. I do this because I need to show the world what's really happening. It's not about me. I hate my face going on camera. I hate doing this sort of stuff, if I'm honest with you. But it needs doing, and no one else is doing it. Not many people. So
To
we
be
need
to
more
be honest,
people.
to be honest, actually, if you hit the nail on the head there, most of us haven't got an ego who are really doing this for the right reasons, and that is basically basic standard of living for us all. I mean, all the right to just the right to life, to live and just be. But there is so many people out there for their. I mean, just look at the amount of people that are on Facebook every 5 minutes who never do anything. Who never think they're just there, just saying the same rhetoric over and over again. And most of the people out there doing it haven't got an ego. It's like you said, haven't got an ego. Aren't putting your face everywhere for every 5 minutes. Aren't chasing fame or some egotistical virtue signaling sort of narrative. It's genuine hard work that people don't see, and I think that's the problem. Most of the work goes on behind the scenes. Most of the people doing the work you will not see, because we are just not on Facebook every 5 minutes because we're too busy actually doing these things. And I think that's what we've got to make a change for.
Well, I agree with what Nobby said earlier, Annie. I don't think it's going to be 5 years. I think you've got less than 18 months. You've already seen what's happening in France and these other things, other countries, Belgium, where they're filming it on the phones, where them, attacking white people. If you don't think that's going to come here, and very soon, you're sadly mistaken.
It already is happening here.
It is happening here. There's been videos of kids getting beaten up in schools and everything by blacks.
Yeah. It's not just that. I mean, it's happening in Ireland. There's so many, and this is the thing. Most people go on about racial baiting and stuff like that. It's like to talk about an aspect of a fact of what's happening is not race baiting, because it's not about one of the other things there. Because people say, and the way the government do it is you take for one and give to the other. I mean, we already know that because they take from the poor and give to the rich. But people have got to understand it. It's like if you can't. Like we keep saying, every government in the world, their first priority is to look after their own citizens. Look at Russia, they do it. Look at a lot of other countries, they do it. A lot of African countries start to do this now. You need to look after it, because if we can't take care of ourselves, how are we meant to take care of anyone else? And when things are done in the way they're done, it's not the people calling out what the truth of what's happening. This is not race baiting. This is not racially motivated in any kind of way. It's telling the truth. It's telling real time what's actually going on, and the situation that's been created by others, not the people telling you this. This is a situation that's been created by people in suits who sit in like the parliament and offices throughout the countries. This is what they're doing, and people like you and people like us and there's other people out there. We're having to voice and go through them attacks, and to have ourselves attacked personally, our opinions, every aspect of our lives. And this is a problem. Most of the genuine people face persecution, prison, or corruption through the system. Most of the people, I mean, look at some of the people who have got, like through COVID, I ain't going to name the name, but about £100,000 worth of COVID fines, but that man is not behind bars. That man doesn't seem to be really worried about paying it off, but there is people that have been genuinely imprisoned for breaching things. This is what people got to understand. It's like we're going to have to stand together, and that's not just white people. That's black, white, everywhere. Everybody's going to have to start realizing that the arguments they cause between us, we have to put aside. We have to start dealing with the truth. We have to start standing up and saying, well, this is the situation, this is the fact, this is what's happening, and this is what needs to be done.
Yeah. And the other thing you've got to start doing, ladies and gentlemen, is be proud of who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're black, Asian, Chinese, white. You've got to start to be proud of who you are. None of this white guilt. I'm sick of it, white guilt, because your ancestors held slaves. Now you will see, if you look back, the majority of the slave owners is all rich elites. Nothing to do with me. And I ain't apologising. or anything like that for them being slave owners. I've had enough of it. At the end of the day, I'm proud to be white, and I don't give a what anybody says. I'm not apologising for everybody else's undoings. There's a lot of other countries done bad, other races have done bad, but we don't have to go after them for reparations and stuff like this. It's all got to stop. The white Europeans have got to start. I'm sorry, but you've got to start being proud of who you are. There's nothing wrong with being a white European. You should be proud of it.
Exactly, and I agree with that, and I'd go further. I'd say every nation on the face of this planet needs to stop bowing down and taking responsibility for what a small group of rich people have actually done to the world. That's the problem. Without their intervention, without their treaties, without their legislation, without their policies, the world would be a more peaceful place. Because let's face it, what war has ever been started by the common man?
None. And let's face it, Nathan, it's the same people who own them slaves that are now doing all this because they've got us all arguing with each other with different races and creeds, and they're doing it again. They're just sitting back and reaping the benefits because we can't unite, because they keep throwing spanners in the works, they keep putting the stuff into the schools to try and get us to be guilty and feel guilty about what them have done, not what we've done. And as soon as the people open their eyes and their ears and do some research to who really is responsible, that's when you'll get somewhere. Because at this moment in time, it's too much white guilt, and I'm sick of it.
You mean people need to stop bowing down to the emotional blackmail and every other tool they use, because this is how they get us. This is the thing. It's like the Long March for Freedom 2, and that is that we're going to be doing an update on that. The Long March for Freedom 2, that is about what Nobby and Active are doing. It's for every single group out there. Everything that these governments and these elites are doing to us, all the groups now need to unite because there is a common goal we all share, and that's to stop these people doing these things. There is a common solution that we all share. We've just got to start coming together, and we've got to start making sure that we actually unite and we actually implement these solutions. And these solutions are there, but it means all these groups coming together. This is why the Long March for Freedom has been done like it's done. It doesn't matter but it's for all groups. We could have 20 groups that are against immigration. We could have 30 groups that are against, I don't know, for instance, the European treaties. It doesn't matter. Whatever your cause, whatever your gripe, our gripes are all with the same people. Once we start realising that, we will direct our energy to where it is needed to be directed, and that is what the aim should be for all groups and all people at the moment.
That's it, guys. Look, I've always said, right, I said this a couple of years ago, if these groups, right, on the right keep fighting, right, you ain't going to have a country to stand and fight and protest about what you're against, right, because it's going to be taken away from us underneath us, right? Let's get away our differences. Let's all pull together. Yeah, let's get our country back. And once we got it back, then you can go and fucking fight against each other again as much as you fucking like. Yeah, I don't give a flying fuck. But until that has happened, yeah, let's think about the country. Yeah, not about your little groups sort of things. We've all got to come and join as one and move as a force. Yeah. Because you won't win it on your own, not in your own little groups. Yeah, this has got too big. Got too big.
Yeah, exactly that. People, you've got to put it all aside. I mean, I've just said that about being white and that, and I'm proud to be white. But what I'm trying to say is that's just how I feel as a person. Well, I'm not racist at all. I'm just proud of who I am, just as them are proud of who they are. And this walk, this march is for everybody. It doesn't matter what colour, creed or race you are or what religion you are. If you love this country and you want to save it, you should be on that walk. It's that simple.
Exactly. The Long March for Freedom 2 has nothing to do with, as Gary says, race, creed, colour, religion, ideology, anything. The Long March for Freedom 2 is purely and solely about uniting all groups under, and again, bring your banners, bring your flags, Be proud of the groups that you're with. Come and show support for your groups. Actually put your groups out there. Be like we used to, so the whole world can see all the very aspects of the things we're fighting for, whether it be child grooming, immigration, the boats, things like that. Start bringing your flags, start bringing your banners on a long march for freedom, because we need to start showing people what we're actually fighting for. Because when we truly amass as one again, like we used to, and you look around, you'll see what everyone's fighting for, and everyone's fighting for the same thing. We are fighting to stop the atrocities that are being perpetrated on everyone. Not just one person, not just one group, but everybody. And once we start actually lifting our head up from the phones and the TVs, and we start looking around and we start actually talking to each other, let's start concentrating on what we have in common rather than differences we have. Because I tell you now, one thing we all have in common is we all want this to stop. We want the atrocities in the world to stop. And if we can't come together on that and start making a better future for our children, then I think we all really need to take a look in the mirror and start really evaluating ourselves.
So I'm not being rude, guys. I've got the boating app on, so I'm keeping an eye on what's going on in the channel as you're not speaking. I'm not being rude by looking down.
But this is exactly it. This is why I want people to start supporting you and active. And like I said, I'm going to put a list of people and the links and that where you need to go. Start supporting people like yourselves who are actually getting the hard work, putting in the legwork to actually get this data, to monitor all this. This is not somebody who just does a daily search of Facebook and then just does a Facebook Live about whatever subject is the subject of the day. These are people. Not just us, there's other people out there who are really genuine, people that are actually really putting their lives and their families and everything they do on hold. As I said, people got to realise you are made to struggle. As we keep saying, stop doing marches on weekends and stuff like that. The same excuses come up. We've had this with the Long March for Freedom too, and we've had it with every other march. I've got kids in school, I've got a job, I'm telling you now, when the World Economic Forum says you will own nothing and you will be happy, they mean it. Okay, look, take a check on my Facebook page. You'll see they are automating every aspect of our lives, whether that be building, shipping, everything. So we won't have jobs. The basic income is, and what they're trying to roll out, and they're actually trying it now, is what.
Hey, I was just going to say that. Did you? It's at the £1,600 they're looking to give to every person in the country. I heard about it the other morning. Wales have got this in progress already. But even if you work, you will get this money, right? But it will make people think, well, £1,600. I pay 500 quid for my rent. Yeah, that leaves me fucking £1,100. Why should I go to work? Then you start becoming independent on the government. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Because most people are basically, as far as statistics go, and this is just speculation from gathering many different statistics. As far as statistics go, if you just take the population of England, 76 to 78% of people will be out of a job. There'll be very few people, and most of them people in the job will be those that are in government positions, like our councils and stuff like that. Even most of them will be cut back because it'll all be automated. The basic income is basically it's a form of control. You'll have central digital banking currency coming in on that as well. This is why we're going to have food shortages. Because that, if they can't get us to agree to it, they'll starve us to it. The vaccinations, the whole lot. This is all one big thing to get complete control. And once the government get control, they will not relinquish it. Don't think that anything that is happening is temporary, because it's not. Read the declarations, read the documents we spoke about on this show alone, and you'll see there is no short term. I mean, I beg you, go. Everybody needs to go, and if you have a look on this YouTube page. Me and Gary have already done part one and two. We're going to do the rest of the document, but look at the international health regulation amendments. It tells you exactly what they're going to do. I mean, the pandemic treaty is due to be signed next year, and that means that one person in the WHO decides when there's a pandemic, and that doesn't mean something like a disease. It can be a pandemic of any kind. One person then has complete control of 193 to 194 countries, what happens, where the money goes, what rules, what regulations. It states in their own documents that they will be doing away with things like dignity. So under the pandemic treaties, under these health regulations, which we can by our own constitution annul, under these treaties, you have no rights. You'll be told what to do. You won't even have any dignity. So if you thought it was bad, what our elderly, who I still say to this day, we should have done more. So many of our elderly died through the pandemic, and we should have done more. We have a responsibility, as Nobby said earlier. I think people really have to start grasping the fact of these are the people that fought for this country, built this country, and they handed it over to us in a good state of order. And we've allowed that to just completely be taken away and completely be destroyed. We have a duty to these people, and I'm sorry, people across the board, we are all lacking.
Yeah. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, they see us as animals, chattel, cattle, animals. And all you are going to be done, you're going to all be put in 15-minute zoo enclosures. That's what these are, they're enclosures, 15-minute zoo enclosures. So you go out of your enclosure, your card won't work. You won't be able to buy petrol at a petrol station because your card won't work, because you've gone out inside your 15-minute enclosure. And what will happen is, in years to come, if nothing's done this, every child that's born around the world, because every country will have them, will live, be brought up, marry, work, socialise and die in that 15-minute enclosure. You won't be going anywhere else. And people need to let that sink in. Sorry if you don't like the truth, but that's the truth.
And the thing is, you got people like me, Active, who's doing this sort of shit, Yorkshire Roads and others, right? If the government, like, they've got issues with me and Active have done for fucking years, if they got issues with you, mate, they'll just fucking cut your card off, so you won't be able to get no fucking money if it all comes digital. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and this is, it's like what I said earlier. I mean, I can guarantee you, every single person you see on this panel has been under attack from government agencies, or people, any, you name it. And the genuine
we got
people
proof of it, mate, from court. We got proof of it when Dover Harbour took us to court, mate. It stated in there that the Ministry of Transport have tried everything in their power to stop us from filming down at Dover, and then in the end they tried to fucking they ended up taking us all to court to get us banned from filming from Dover Port. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
and I've got it right.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's no secret to what's been happening to me and Gary over a number of years. I mean, we've been doing this before Brexit. It's no secret to what's happened to me and Gary over a number of years. I mean, we've had to deal with not only the government but other groups as well. Like I said, people get doxed from their job, and then you get a campaign against an employer, so then you get fired, so then you're on benefits and you get attacked for that. I can prove myself. I have evidence that the CPS and everything have actually perverted the course of justice and completely corrupted things against myself. I have actually the proof of that. And this is the thing.
Well, look what they've done to Active.
Most of the genuine people have that.
Been arrested 9 times.
Exactly.
7 times.
This is the thing I keep saying, and this is where people really need to start putting their energy into the people that are really doing this, because it's the people that are really out there that are they're on the button, they're on the money. It's the people like myself, Gary, you and Active, that will bring about the change and are bringing about the change and are bringing about the awareness. We're the ones that attacked. Look how many of your Facebook heroes and your YouTube heroes that you listen to have never spent a night in the police cell, have never been questioned, have never had their job doxed, never lost anything. In fact, they've only gained out of all this. Have a look, and you'll see the ones of us that are truly genuine, we are under attack, and we need people to stand behind us. We all need to stand together, because it's easy to keep picking us off one by one. But if we all start standing together, we all start backing each other, it makes it impossible.
Listen, their goal is to make you crumble, yeah, to come at you as much as they can, so you think this is not worth it, yeah. But if you do nothing wrong, like you say, use the law of the land, yeah, and you know you are not committing an offence, and you can go and stand up in court, yeah, and you can win that case. And what they don't realise after that is, when you fight for compensation for wrongful arrest and wrongful imprisonment and assault and battery, You're right. Nobby just put me up with my train of thoughts and just come in and pull the face. When you go looking for the information because you're looking for the people to sue, yeah, that's when they get themselves in murky waters. Because at the minute, at the height of it during COVID, Channel 4 came down to the docks and they did some kind of interview. They tried to do a hit piece on me, but I had to get legal. But that's a different thing. But they came down and did an interview. Then they came to Napier Barracks that day and had a demonstration against the left, and they filmed that. And that night, I got raided at the hostel that I was staying at in Dover. They said they had a warrant out for my arrest. I knew I didn't have a warrant out for my arrest, but they kept me in for 26 hours because they tried to come into the cells underneath the court and say the warrant was issued from Preston Crown Court. We need to take you to Preston Crown Court. We're going to take you in a prison bus. And I basically says, there ain't no way I'm leaving this cell. You're going to have to get an army of people to take me out. I haven't got a warrant on me arrest. Basically, my barrister said that saved me life because they tried to lose me in the system during COVID. Now we've applied to the court to find out who signed this, who stamped this warrant, because this was a bylaw offence. They tried to. I won the case. The district judge said basically you have to drop all the charges, otherwise you're going to get in murky waters, because this man's done 2 days in prison for a non-jailable offence, because all I was accused of was swearing on a train line, a bylaw offence, which was only a finable offence. So no judge in the land can issue a warrant for a bylaw offence.
Exactly.
So now we're suing the court, and the court have lost the case against us where they have to issue us with the warrant, the signed warrant and the dated warrant. Well, they sent it back to us, a blank warrant with no date on.
Exactly.
So,
I want Gary to explain something to me. That's actually, I mean, I've got proof of that as well. I've been arrested of unsigned warrants. I've got evidence that the CPS and courts will not send me any court orders or any court documentation because they'll know I'll rip through it. It's like you've been through it, we've been through it. It's like what a lot of people see it. It's like when we went in talking to COVID in the beginning of the pandemic, myself and Gary went to Scotland Yard with evidence because we already actually have a case. People don't realise this. There's other people out there trying to do the legal work, but there is already a case that and we actually have this on court record and that as well because of what happened with the story I'm just about to tell you. There is actually a case that the Metropolitan Police have actually backed with evidence of crimes proven against at least 5 MPs, and we can widen that if we get people like yourselves and other groups to all start accumulating their evidence. We can actually widen that, and we can actually start prosecuting these people properly. I mean, we went to Scotland Yard to basically petition Crescinda Dick at the beginning of the pandemic with, again, evidence of sedition and treason. She actually ordered unlawfully, and she doesn't have the right to. She actually ordered our arrest. We had already agreed beforehand the likelihood is one of us is going to get arrested. Gary has to travel back and forward to see his wife, so using his unalienable rights, which he can talk about as well. So I agreed that I would take the arrest, but I want Gary to explain this. This is how far these people will go. Gary, explain what happened to you, what the police did to you from the moment that they arrested me to the moment you got on that train.
Basically, they told me I've got to get out of London, which I did. I was walking with Temmie, you know, Temmie and Alex. Well, Nobby will. But basically, was walking with them too. And I was walking just normal, but there's 7 of them in a van, and they was harassing me, calling me names, everything, all this, trying to get me to bite because they wanted to get me arrested as well as Nathan. I never bit. I went all the way through. Just saying, I'm going now. Which way is the station? It's down there. Okay, thank you, Constable. Went down there. Once I got inside the station and I was going down, 2 of them jumped out of the van and they came running across, and Temmie's a witness to this. Says, Gary, I said, oh, Constable. He said, well done, thank you for not biting back. Said, we was under orders from above, you know, I knew, Crescinda Dick, to get you as well as your friend who's already gone in. But you obviously give us nothing, and we kept telling her this on the radio. He's done nothing wrong, we can't arrest him. And that's why they was badgering me and asking me to try and get me to bite, you know, tell them to F off or whatever, so they could do me for breach of the peace or whatever the claim. but I was very calm, and he shook my hand and he said, "What's out there? We've got nothing to arrest you for." And we said, "Fair play. You never beat and you never played our game. Have a safe journey out to London, but please, whatever you do, don't come back because she will have you arrested. Because now we've got to tell her you've gone down onto the platform." Nice guy, nice coppers, but they was basically telling me at the end that's why they were sent to badger me, to hassle me, try and get me to bite so they could arrest me as well. But me and Nathan been playing the game too long, and we knew exactly what the game was, so it didn't work.
And here's the kicker: we was actually at Scotland Yard to uphold the law, and I was arrested for upholding the law. Gary, they attempted to arrest Gary for upholding the law, which is an actual duty of all of ours in all of our communities, as well as I mean, this is how far they go. This is why we keep saying it's people like ourselves and the genuine people. We really do go through a lot more than people realise. We are the ones that actually get attacked and actually risk our lives being taken, our liberty being taken and put in prison. And as Active said, it's easy to lose one of us in the system.
They wanted they wanted to lose me because they would have put me on remand in Preston, because when I did actually get to a video link, because I refused to leave that cell, so I got to a video link with the court in Folkestone, and when the district judge picked the paperwork up, he says, "I can't understand any of this paperwork." He said, "All I'm going to do is adjourn it to the original court that it came from," and gave me bail. But they wanted me they wanted me out of the system, and I would have got lost. And I'm not going to be funny. They would have made headlines about me getting nicked, like GB News have tried it, racist on trial, when I'm not even on trial for anything to do with race. I was on trial for malicious communication. But if it makes a headline and adds date to the weight and adds weight to it, everything. I went to Bradford Court and I had to go guilty. I didn't have to, but because I'm on that many different bail conditions and court cases, Crown Court trial, one more arrest and I'm in jail on remand anyway. So I had to get rid of one of these hearings. So I went to Bradford Crown Court the other week because I've been covering a grooming gang trial outside. I think about 19 Muslim men, all up for raping one girl over about a 3 or 5 year period. Dirty, horrible charges, horrible stuff was written about them in the paper, what they were alleged to have done. I'm stood outside, just reading the names of the people accused, and the security guards, who were Muslim, rang the police on me and said that I said that all pedos are Pakis. So then the police came and arrested me for more than that, because I said it was a Section 4A threatening racial violence. I had a group of Muslim lads that was watching me filming, but trying to back me up to give me
racial hatred.
Yeah, but I had a group of Muslim kids that was trying to give me their details to the police, and they got rid of the Muslim kids, took me away, and as a woman put me in the background, she went, "I heard him call them all Pakis," she said to the other two coppers, but she didn't give a statement in the end when they realised I was live streaming the lot. But in court, it was going to go on for 2 years. Like you say, security guards was going to stand up against me, so I just went guilty to using racist language under duress. I went guilty under duress because they're saying that I said Bradford isn't run by English people. So I went guilty under duress for saying that, a Section 5 ratio got a fine, but I'm not guilty of anything. Under the law, I wasn't guilty of a thing. Everything was live streaming. It's still up and available.
Under the
online.
law, no, but under their legislation and their policies, that's all legislation technically is. It's just government policy. Yeah, you're a criminal.
But what I'm saying, I was forced on that one. It's horrible to admit it, but I was forced to go guilty because I don't want, there's so much, that needs to go out there to the public because we are having a fucking wool pulled over our eyes. Richie Sunak put a tweet out at the end of last week saying we're 20% less migrant crossings than last year. The plan's working. When I know full well we've had the worst channel this last 6 months in the sea, the worst winds in the sea for 10 years in that channel, So I knew, because I know 2 weeks in advance what the weather's going to be like in the channel. So I knew we had this week and next week, we had 2 weeks of really good weather. Thousands of migrants are going to cross. I knew that. So I called his tweet out. He's deleted that tweet because 4 days later, that it were on higher numbers now than last year. So, you know, within 4 days of him putting a tweet out, and he should know, because I know the migrants are going to cross in the thousands, and I'm not the Prime Minister, and he's meant to be in charge of all this border force, he's meant to have all the intelligence, MI5 drones. If I know what's coming over, he does, yet he's still putting tweets out trying to take victory. And people are believing this shit.
Well, this
Yeah,
is the
tell
thing,
us
and
about
this is another thing I really want people to understand as well, because it's like, I can assure you, myself and Gary have been dealing with the police and courts for a number of years. I can hand on heart say the majority are actually good people, but they are forced to do things that they wouldn't normally or necessarily do. I mean, if you speak to most constables didn't agree with what they had to do.
Can I just put in on that? Did you say about right? So you just said about London, how corrupt it was. I went to London in September. I was targeted. I even heard them on the radio talking about me. Something about trouble and something like this. So I went onto an open top bus roof with permission of the driver and got arrested. But because I know the law, yeah. When I got to the charge room, Sergeant, I said, she's arrested me on the wrong charge. She's arrested me for for interference with a motor vehicle. I said, that comes under Motor Vehicle Theft Act, yeah? I said, I've had permission to go on a bus roof. I haven't interfered with any motor vehicle. He had to go and look into the book and came back 5 minutes later and turned around to that cop woman, who was Polish, I think, and turned around and said, he's right, you're going to have to release him. He turned round in the charge room on camera and said, well, can I arrest him for something else?
Yeah, but this is the thing. I'm not saying there's not bad people in there, because we have got, like I said, in the police force, the hiring mechanism they use, that they would prefer to hire people fresh out of college that's been indoctrinated in certain ideology. But we do have a lot of constables that. I'm sorry. The point I'm trying to make is, so many people go down to protests and stuff like that, and the first thing they do is they want to shout and scream at the police constables. Stop doing that. Because one, you give them all the power to then act against you, because it's civil unrest. You're actually breaching the peace, which is the main part of common law. We need these people on side. So a lot of these people are under pressure. A lot of these people have got mortgages, stuff like that. So a lot of these people have to do this, because otherwise they face what they're doing, and we are gonna have to get rid of it. And the police. Solicitors, barristers, even though they have a complete allegiance to the law, so we're all going to have to start agreeing on this, and have to we stand by each other, or they are slow, because the police are going to be out of a job soon as well. They're being replaced by CCTV, robot dogs, and stuff like that. Rather than attacking each other and screaming at the police, we need these people on side. It's people like yourselves, who educate people. Like I said, once you start to learn your rights. Because a lot of these constables, a lot of the new ones, don't know your rights. All they know is a couple of bits of legislation they're told to police that day. So we need to educate these constables as much as we need to educate each other, and that is going to be a vital part of the way we move forward. It's like you said, on top, like when you've got to that route, to know your rights and to actually be able to voice them is going to be one of our main weapons against this. And we're going to have
I'll totally agree with that, Nate, because when me and Active do things together, right? Look, I'm army orientated, where I'd want to sit in a bush and do what I do and film from a distance, where actually Active likes getting in there and being in amongst it. But the problem I've got with doing it is because I've been straight and narrow by the law and been in the army, I don't know the rules and regs where what you can push, you know what I mean? Where Active knows the ins and out of the law and what he can do and what he can't do. So he's got that to protect him. So you've got to learn your rules and regs so you know where you stand if the police do approach you and what you can do and can't do.
Learning legislation is a massive help, but learning common law, learning your unalienable rights. Stop using human rights. Learn your unalienable rights. Learn what puts you above their legislation. That's going to be the true weapon we have against this, because they designed the legislation system. They designed it so they can't be beaten. Yeah, you can use it effectively at points, but you're going to come up against a brick wall at some point. So we really have to start learning our rights, our laws, because the law and legislation, so acts, statutes, and laws are different things. Most people, when they talk about legislation, they refer to it as laws. They're not laws. It's the colour of law. It states in House Laws of England, which is the encyclopedia of laws, is what the courts have to go by. It states quite clearly that acts and statutes can only be given the force of law by the consent of the governed. Now, in that sentence, it tells you everything you need to know. Acts and statutes are not laws, but they can be given the force of a law with your consent. And that involves the representation in the People's Act, it involves voting, it involves a lot of things. There is a system that we all are going to have to start grasping. I mean, the problem is a lot of people don't like politics, but you don't have to get into the boring stuff. All you have to do is like active. I mean, like active. I mean, you can back yourself. A bit of research can save you a lot of hassle down the road. Can it or can it not?
Having Active's number is a lifesaver, mate. Just ring him up and ask him.
Well, you know the enable rights side of it now, because nobody's used them outside this country more than I have. And when I was going to Belarus before, I went to Belarus. When I got there, my card wouldn't work in the cash point. Couldn't get any cash out. And I couldn't, when I went to the supermarket, I couldn't do anything. It said the card don't work. So when I came back to England, I went down the bank and I said, you put a stop on my card, it won't work in Belarus. What do you think you're playing at? You can't do that to me. Well, we could do it because of the sanctions. You could be drawing cash out and fund games. I said, okay, I'll agree with that one, that I can't get cash out of the cash points. I'll let you have that one. But you cannot stop me going in any shop. But there's a place called Gippo. It's Gippo over there. It's more like Asda, Morrison's, Tesco's over there. So I said, so when I go in Gippo, for instance, and I'm buying groceries and cigarettes and stuff, you shouldn't be putting a stop on my card. I have to be able to live. And they reinstated it. So when I go to Belarus now, I have to take cash because if I want to buy something, you know, to do with the shop or anything. But if I want to just buy groceries or cigarettes, I can now actually use my card because it's an unalienable right. They cannot stop me accessing, you know, for food, etc. So now I still can't get it out of the cash machine because of the sanctions against Russia. I can actually use my card to use in shops. I want to buy a battery or a new phone or whatever. I can go and do that now. I couldn't even do that before, but I've got reinstated under my unalienable rights.
Well, this is exactly it. This is one thing everybody has to realise. Your unalienable rights are not a hard thing to learn. I mean, Active, you all know this. Legislation can be a very hard thing to learn and grasp and actually use. But your unalienable rights aren't. They're basically, you've got to look at unalienable rights, and your human rights is basically all they've done is they've taken our unalienable rights. That's the right to life, pursuit of happiness, family, basic standard of living, really, and your right to travel without being impeded, all the stuff like that. The right to be in a public place and not be harassed. The right to remain silent, stuff like this. Your human rights are near enough a carbon copy of your unalienable rights. But what they've done, the UN and our government, they've said, right, well, we'll make it easier for people to use their human rights, so they're more likely to use these. Problem is, as I said before, in the Human Rights Declaration, it states in the preamble, they're only to be taken into consideration. So your human rights can be taken away from you whenever the powers that be feel like it. Whereas your unalienable rights can't, but they are pretty much the same thing. So if you know your human rights, you'll know most of your unalienable rights. You just need to start using the right wording. And Active, you'll agree on this, especially when you're dealing with police and stuff like that. Wording is very key. The wrong wording can often get you in a set of handcuffs.
Oh yeah, 100%. Wording is key to everything. Like you say, in the UN Refugee Convention and compacts, it's nothing supersedes our own laws. It's only there, like you say, as legislation and to take notes from. But nothing. If you're breaking our laws, that doesn't supersede our laws. So why, the government don't look at it the right way, so to speak, if you get me, do they? Because they're acting the opposite to what the law states. Our law is the main law in this country, which it should be. Every nation should have their own law sovereignty. You know what I mean?
That's
Well,
exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. Every nation technically does have sovereignty. We all have sovereignty because we're all born of the divine. We are a living, breathing creation. We are not a legal fiction. We are not an artificial person. That's something that people are going to have to grasp. And this is the tools that they use against us. They use wording and they trick us for our education to use these wording, and we give over power. Once we start learning our own laws, our own rights, and we start wording these correctly, they are powerless. But it's like Active says, that don't think Parliament and a lot of the police are taught to go against our unalienable rights because they're not taught them. They're not. I've had it in many court cases where I've asked constables. It's a very simple question. Because constables actually, a lot of people don't understand this. This is why we can't have things like common law constables, because constables actually attest an oath, firstly to uphold the common law of the land, secondary to their legislative powers. So the laws of the land actually supersede their right to uphold their legislative powers. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of constables don't know this. But this is where you've got to start learning. But in that attestation, they hold personal liability. And this is where holding these people together. So when you're going for things like you sue the police and things like that, yes, it'll work in some ways because they have to give over, but start holding these people to account personally because they are liable. These legal fictions, they're a fallacy, they're a creation, they're a figment, they're a facade. And that's what we've been tricked of. It's like it's like benefits, for instance, right? I'll use this. Most people think taxpayers' money pays for benefits. That is something that they have used to get the working people to attack people who are not working. Right? Benefits actually come from a trust. It's a crown trust. It's under crown license as well. And you get benefits because you are a beneficiary of that trust. It's like people wrongly state things like pensions are a benefit. No, it's not. You pay money into a pot and then they're meant to pay you it back in your pension. But people use the wording of a benefit. So you're doing yourself out of something that you are owed. And this is where we've got to start fighting the right battles and do the right thing. And it's people like yourself, Active, people like you, Nobby, us, and a lot of other people. We're paving the way for this. A lot of stuff has actually happened in courts. A lot of stuff's happening on the streets where these things are being dealt with. They are going through the system. But we need everyone to start getting behind the right way of doing things, that our laws, our rights. So people like Active, people like Nobby, myself, Gary, and all the people that really are doing this are protected.
Yeah, it's like, I've never used human rights anymore. I've always used unalienable rights. If I'd have used my human rights instead of unalienable, in that instance, I guarantee you I wouldn't have got anywhere. It's only because I said it's my unalienable rights. You cannot touch them. And I realised I was standing under the real thing, not an act that they brought in that they can say, well, now there's a crisis in this and so it's all changed. No, my unalienable rights never change. I've got them. No matter what the situation is, whether we're at war, doesn't make any difference what's going on. My unalienable rights are mine. And I only give them up if I want to give them up. If I want to uphold them, there's nothing you can do to stop me. And that's what I did with the card. And that's why I got it reinstated. I said, you're going to be in big trouble. I said, if I go back to Belarus and I don't access, next time I come back to England, you see what happens. When I got there, it was sorted out, Mr. Clark. When I got back there, not a problem. That's because I used unalienable instead of Human Rights Act. Ditch the Human Rights Act, it doesn't do any good.
Exactly. I mean, I want to kind of throw you, Nobby, and you Active under the bus a little bit here. I'd like you to sort of now, in your own words, sort of like voice what you've been seeing, what's been happening since you've been out there. And if you wouldn't mind, I know it's not easy, but I'd like a prediction of how you see what's going to happen? I mean, because we know summer is going to be a massive upsurge. If you can, and give us a rough bit of what you've been doing and what you know of now, and give us a sort of prediction of how you see things going this summer, just in a short space of time, so people can monitor this and know that what you're saying is the truth, and they can see the situation for what it is. And I would like to hear from you two, if you would please, some suggestions that you feel for some solutions that we can actually do to actually start addressing this now.
Go on in, Active. I'll let you go first. Is he there?
You all
Active.
right? Yeah, you all right? I'm talking with the mic on, mate, because I'm a retard.
Nah.
I was doing it a minute ago. Don't worry, mate.
Right. What I'll say, since doing this over 3 years ago, I have seen rape and murders by so-called refugees go up probably about 3,000%, especially the last 6 months with the rapes from guests in hotels. Let's put it, these refugees allegedly. You got to remember, right? Women and children flee war. 90% of, 95% in the last 18 months of migrant, allegedly, people fleeing war have been fighting age men. Fighting age men go to fight in a war. They do not flee a war. Women and children flee a war. What I'm seeing here is armies being like armies of group. When I say army, I don't mean an army, an established army, but I'm saying groups of males. I've been in the prison system in the 90s. Yeah, this is like a hotel to me is like an open prison where you get the good, the bad, and the evil, and you get the weak, and the weak are the ones that are manipulated. And what we're seeing up and down the country is these attacks and these sexual assaults. They're all happening every fucking week now. This has gone like from 3 years ago. I actually slept in a migrant hotel. I was listening to the scams on the phones. We've gone from scamming people to just blatantly murder, terror. I've seen the Albanian gangs come in, bringing the Vietnamese before them to run the grow houses, and then come in and take over all the states in towns and cities and use violence to take over this. I've seen the drug trade go from the Englishman to the Albanian and the Kurdish. So the drugs are run by foreigners. The rapes going epidemic rape through this country is epidemically, it is fundamentally by a lot of foreigners that shouldn't even be in this country, and they've actually just come out of prison in their own country, as we've just seen in Cork in Ireland. He got out of a jail in Romania or something after raping a child, came to Ireland and then raped an old woman in a park. They're hearing these in Sheffield, old people getting raped. All I'm hearing, the rape and murder of our country tenfold in the last 3 years. And there's no, I've got no solution. The only solution I've got is we need the army in, and we need to call a national emergency. We need to raise the terror threat level, and we need to protect the borders. Our border force have been infiltrated by the left wing infiltrators that want these people here, that are saying they're now going to go on strike if we implement the Rwanda deal and we try to send these people back, and they're trying to stop us from letting them come across. These are the people that we pay to protect our borders, and they want them in. This fucking hell, mate, you're making me mad, mate. Just thinking about everything.
I know. You say you've got no solutions and stuff out, but I think you've hit the nail on the head on quite a few ways. We do have to deal with exactly what you say. It's things like being infiltrated by the left, the opinions of these people, the way things are done, the fact that we do as a nation have to really start dealing with it on the level that it actually needs to be dealt with. You make some amazing points there, Active. I think people really do have to think about what you just said.
But the thing is, we've got the solution, because our children are not going to be turning into fighting age men that want to protect their fucking women and children and want to protect the country, because they're being infiltrated by Marxist agendas. And they're all, the school system is crazy now. Girls want to be boys, boys want to be girls. It's, you can be who you want to be. You can dress in dresses. You can call yourself
cat.
you know what I mean? The whole system is broken. We need a fresh start. We need normal common sense policies and common law, just the basics. that fundamentally created our system that we all abided by and we all got on.
Exactly. Common law and the Constitution actually kept peace in our lands for over 1,000 years. There's something to be said for that.
It is, yeah. We've actually got an anniversary, haven't we, coming up soon?
Yep,
for
we have.
Yeah. Are you all going to that? Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I've got quite a lot of commitments at the moment that I've sort of do. I've got myself and Gary, so like I said, we're involved with the Long March Freedom 2. I have a lot of involvement with the courts. I'm also involved with trying to get the police re-educated, the uniforms and stuff like that. So I try and get to things when I can, but it depends on my commitments really to the timing. But I'm open to be there.
This is it. The internet world has, like you say, created weak men, and weak men have created hard times. And now, every day, nothing's shocking people. It's just like, oh, it's another one, another rape. Oh, it's another murder. Come on, let's just sing Don't Look Back in Anger and all have a vigil because some guy's gone on a rampage and stabbed people up and started running people over. Not a solution. Let's just sing a song, yeah, and we'll all get over it. No, like you say, we need action, right? And we need strong men because weak men, like you say, have created the mess that we're in.
Yep, very much so. What would you like to add to that, Nobby?
What can I say to that?
I think Active is literally just wrapped up the whole situation.
Mate, the only thing I want to add to that, right, is over the 3 years when we've been doing this, right, your government is not out for you. Your government's out for themselves, right? And the government are a bunch of liars. Don't listen to them, right? Because everything we've heard on, especially illegal immigration since we started, right, has just been lie after lie after lie. Smoke screen after smoke screen after smoke screen. Yeah, don't believe them. Yeah, do not believe mainstream media, right? They annoy me as well. Right, mainstream media, right? You've got all these idiots going, oh, we're big down on the cliffs, BBC, yeah. Every day when they're getting their footage off of other people, if you're going to be down there, do it, yeah. Don't say you are down there when you're not down there. I know you're not down there because I know what's going on the bloody telly, yeah, because there's nothing on the TV, yeah. Don't believe mainstream media. Don't believe your government, right? They're not behind you. They're being run by others, as we know. So, as I said, times ahead, what we've seen change in the 3 years with the numbers building up from 8,500 when we started off to 45,000 last year or whatever it was. Mate, we're in big trouble. We're in big trouble. And people have got, look, do you know what annoys me? Right? People have started waking up, but people are saying the wrong things. People are saying, we don't want immigrants in our villages. No, we don't want immigrants in our fucking country. Yeah, stop passing the buck. Yeah, these little villages are getting, let's say, 400, but we've only got 250 people in our village. Yeah, well, tell them you don't want it in your country. Let's make a stand. Not move it on and then go back to your own little life like nothing's happening. This country's in turmoil, right? And we're in the shit. Yeah, big time. And this government's got to be held accountable.
I mean, it's like you say about people say it in the right way, and you're exactly right on that. People are always, instead of going for the primary problem, people are always too busy putting out all the fires it creates. So the secondary problems, the third problems, things like that. It's like, I mean, me personally, I do believe immigration does work when it's regulated and controlled properly. I mean, let's face it, after the war, if it worked for a certain amount of immigration, like with Windrush, things like that, our country wouldn't have got back on its feet at the same time, stuff like that. There's a lot of Polish that come into the country that help rebuild our country, stuff like that. Immigration can work when it's regulated and it's controlled. At the moment, and you two are out there, you can contest this more than I can, the floodgates are open. It's no longer being controlled. It's no longer being regulated. I mean, we're about to see a solution. Basically, Active mentioned it earlier. We're going to give amnesty, and I can assure you, because it's already in paperwork and it's already going through the channels now, that their solution's going to be give amnesty to them all. So therefore, I mean, stop using words like illegal immigrants. Refugees and stuff like that, because they are entering this country illegally. Okay, that is a crime. Okay, now if you're willing, and I will say this to all the groups that are backing things out, if you're willing to say, okay, I'll back these people if they commit a crime, but I don't want people who commit. I want people to go to prison for this crime. Then your morals are in the wrong place. A crime is a crime. Okay, we actually have an immigration system where true immigrants. It's like Active said earlier. There is women and children that are actually fleeing from situations that are having to go through the immigration system properly, spend years going through all the channels, and these people are just completely bypassing that and coming through. I mean, Active hit the nails right on the head about women and children flee wars. Look what happened in Ukraine. Okay, to you saying that's happening at the moment that everyone's concentrating on. All the women and children were allowed to leave. All the men were ordered to stay behind and fight.
Anyone above 18 has to stay, and that happened in Bosnia, mate. Anyone I saw fleeing in Bosnia were women and children with horse and carts at the time. Yeah, it's not the men, right? If they're fleeing from wars, what's happening? All the women and children are fucking in the army. You know what I mean? And got weapons. Come on, mate. People have got to wake up and look. Look, what I was saying about the government, right? The government made it illegal for lorry drivers to bring back anyone in their fucking lorries, right? And they get like £10,000 fines and that for each person in the back of their lorry. But it's legal. It's legal for the RNLI and the Border Force just to happily go out, taxi them in every single day, right? And put this country and every person in this country, yeah, in grave danger.
Exactly. It's a rose by any other name. You hit the nail on the head. We have seen. Look at the 90s. Most people remember the 90s, and exactly what you say. The amount of truck drivers who had no clue people in the back of the lorry, but faced heavy fines that literally destroyed their lives. Imprisonment, the whole lot. And they did that unintentionally. And we've got people that are committing treason, because it is treason. They are committing treason knowingly and willfully, and we are advocating for these people to do so. We have got to start getting our morals correct. I'm sorry, but we have, and each and every one of us need to give ourselves a good old wobble and start really looking at ourselves and our morals, and actually start questioning, start standing up for the morals that have kept peace in our country, the morals that made our country basically the envy of the world at one point. And it's not because we were colonists or anything like that, it's because we had rights and we had things that uplifted the people and protected the people when other countries never did. And that's what we need to get back to.
But above all that, Nathan, we had people in the country who was willing to unite and actually use those rights.
Yep, exactly.
Back in the day. We haven't got that anymore. That's the problem we've got. Your constitution and everything still works like it did 100, 200, 400 years ago. The problem is people have forgot how to uphold the rights and the laws that you've got. And until you get, like now, 200 years ago, 150 years ago, the government wouldn't have dared to try and take over the way they have and said, we're here to serve you, but you're our slaves. That's basically what they're saying now. We're here to serve you, but actually we've turned the tables and we've become the private and you've become the corporates. In other words, we're supposed to have private lives and they're supposed to work for us. We're supposed to know everything they do. But they've turned all the tables around so that now they're living in the private, so we can't know what they're doing, but they want to know and control and know everything that we're doing. It's been turned upside down. Exactly. And only the people, by upholding the rights and the laws we have, can reverse that and put it back to how it was.
Well, this is the thing. We've been, me and myself and Gary have been doing this for over a decade now, like proving that we do have a constitution. Do not be fooled by the whole thing say we do not have a written constitution. We do have a written constitution. It's written over 19 to 21 documents. They are separate because our constitution was built over 800 years and through a lot of wars and through millions upon millions of normal people giving their lives to uphold or reinforce these rights. To the fact of most of the world borrowed up bits of our constitution, like the Magna Carta, to actually build their own rights. So it's there. We proved that because part of the case that we have that the Metropolitan Police backed is to do with malfeasance, which under common law still holds life imprisonment, by the way, sedition and treason. And what we used in that was the Magna Carta 1215 and other parts of our constitution and our common law and our ancient customs. It is there. It's just been hidden from us. It's time we all started upholding it, because we actually, it's not whether we want to or not. We don't actually have a choice. It's actually our duty. Same as I hear a lot of people say about America having the right to bear arms. They actually, that is actually I would say a manipulation of our duty, because within our constitution, and it's actually within our laws of our land, every man, woman, and child have a duty. It's not whether you want to or not. You have no choice. You have a duty to be proficient in arms. So the law states that we should all be practicing with whatever arms meets our means. So if you're rich enough to own a gun, you should own a gun. If not, a sword, a bow and arrow. But we should all be practicing with weapons so we can protect the realm, because it is actually our law states that it is our duty, not just the army, not just the police, but all of us have a duty to protect our realm. People really have to start getting to grips with our laws and what our obligations and our duties actually are, and start upholding them, because that's where the solution lies. Every single problem we face out there, you're always going to revert back to the same place. It's going to be the very laws that our ancestors, that our armies, that have fought for, died for. And I mean, it's insurmountable. You can't technically calculate the amount of people that have lost their lives to make sure we have the very rights we're just giving up. They gave people, millions upon millions upon millions of people actually died. So you have the right to freedom of speech. You have the right to walk down the road unmolested. I think we forget this as a people, and it's our duty to make sure that loss, that sacrifice, does not go in vain. I mean, most of us know about the Second World War and the sacrifices made in that. Are we just to let them sacrifices go in vain? Are we to let any of the sacrifices that any of us have made, or any of our ancestors have made, to make sure that we are meant to live in a free society? We're just meant to give that up or ignore it now? Or is it something worth fighting for? Because it's a question you're really going to have to ask yourselves. Is it worth fighting for? Is there anything, because we're cut up to 2 hours, is there anything you or Nobby want to sort of add to that?
No, mate, no, all done.
What we'll do is, what we're going to try and do is, we're going to try and sort out a regular update from Active and Nobby, so they'll be coming on more often if you two are willing.
Yep.
And so in real time, you should have an update to this, and you'll see the situation progress. And as I said, two of the best data collectors that I know out there, you're listening to right now. So check out their Facebooks, check out their YouTube, check out the data they're putting out, because it's in real time. You don't have to wait for this, and it's not, in no way is it sugar coated, and in no way is it tampered with. They give you the cold, hard facts, and it may be hard to deal with, but we're going to have to deal with it. So please, people like Yorkshire Rose, Active Patriot, Little Veteran Gay, and myself, and all the true patriots and all the true people out there that really are working hard and making massive sacrifices to make sure that there is a fight, and we are in the fight. Please start following these people. Start putting your attention towards the right people, because that's where it's needed.
Here's an ancient law knife that still stands that people might not realise, and it's silly law actually, but apparently Welshmen are prohibited entering Chester before the sun rises and have to leave before the sun goes down. It's an ancient law, but still actually never been repealed.
Actually, yes, it's a bylaw, and you can still, technically speaking, under law, you can still kill a Welshman after 12 p.m.
Well, is that for the protection of the sheep's, like?
Because of this in Chester, it's technically okay to shoot a Welshman after midnight on a Sunday with a crossbow, as long as it's within the city walls.
Yeah, well, if I tell you too much about what I've been looking into, you probably know my plan, but I've been looking into the laws of the international, Dead Man's Sea or whatever it's called, where there's no fucking law of that sea.
Maritime law, yeah, the law of the sea, yes.
Yeah.
No, not the law of the sea. No, you know that part of the sea that no one owns? What's it called again?
Yes,
You're right,
international waters.
Yeah, apparently you can get away with a lot of stuff in them waters. Just saying.
Or what you call
just saying.
or what you call non-dominion jurisdiction.
Well, yeah, there's no jurisdiction. No one can claim jurisdiction because, like, what country wants to say, you know what I mean? But I mean, I'm just saying, like you say, well, if something was to happen in them war, it's like you can mean it. It's like you can get away with murder, isn't it? It's like that saying, you get away with murder. You know what I mean?
Technically, yes, but if it's proven that it was premeditated before you left land, then you would get prosecuted.
But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, how could you possibly know that a migrant boat full of illegals was going to leave a beach and you're just going to pop into international waters next year? You couldn't possibly preempt that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not being funny. I mean, people said it before. I mean, we still have enough of a fishing fleet, and we have enough people that I'm sure that have got dinghies and boats and stuff like that. We could actually create our own barrier within English waters, and there's nothing that can be done about that. We probably would get the Navy pester us, but there's nothing that could be done.
But you're going to cause a big political international fucking
exactly. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but
take the French fishing rights off of them.
Listen, if a French can start burning our boats in the sea, yeah, I'm sure my two dinghies are going to be all right in international waters with me in them.
It's actually 12 nautical miles.
Yeah, 12 nautical miles off.
Yeah.
Because it's from the actual sea line. Because people don't know. For instance, there is a certain, like our beaches. There is it's basically when the tide line comes up from there in the council manages, but there's a little part that
Which
even
is
on our
owned
own
by
beaches,
the Crown.
yeah, which is owned by the Crown, and there's even a little part which is not owned by anybody, and then you go out into where there is jurisdiction. It's like the Channel. Technically speaking, our jurisdiction meets the French jurisdiction. There is actually no buffer zone there, so you can go right up to the edge of French waters as long as you stay in English side of the Channel, and you are not committing no laws. No breaches of laws. But this is the thing: it would create an international situation, but it would. Most people of an age will remember this, especially when the EU fishing rights that battle started. Especially most fishermen. I mean, I live in a fishing town, so most people I know is still quite sore with them. But most people remember the French boats coming and actually trying to set light to our boats and actually trying to sink our boats. And because some of our boats strayed into French waters, they was actually backed up by international law. There is, I don't technically use case law, but there is things you could use as a reference for an action.
This is it, yeah. Like you say, yeah, you could use it, couldn't you? You could argue that in trial if it came to that, couldn't you?
Well, if we was to put it, I mean, this is for instance, say for instance, most of our crime under English law, crime is about actus reus and mens rea. So that's mental intent and physical action. So actus reus is physical action, mens rea is mental intent. So if your intention was to go out and stop a crime, if you was to commit a lesser crime to stop a greater crime, then there would be no course of, there should under our law be no course of action against you, because mens rea allows you to do that, because your mental intent was to go out. If you commit a crime yourself, you was committed a crime knowing you was stopping a greater crime.
Well, yeah, we all know that ISIS terrorists are coming over anyway on boats, so you're stopping atrocities, aren't you? So basically, you could get away with murder because you're stopping atrocities, aren't you?
Well, this is the thing. You could, I would say, you could make an argument that there is enough cases where we could say that child grooming, murder, rape, and stuff like that have been implemented by certain individuals that have come into the country. So you could argue that there is a pandemic there. This is the thing that this is what I think. There is certain things we can do. And we can use against them, but again, we're going to have to unite to do these things, and we're all going to have to get on the same page. And this is where, like, Long March to Freedom comes into play, because it's like, for instance, myself and Gary, we deal with EU law, international law, common law, constitutional law, tort law, stuff like that. So, and then you lot deal with the actual situation that's the breach of them laws. So if we all start coming together and we all start putting our piece to the puzzle, We all make that puzzle, and that picture then becomes clear, and then we can actually do something about it. And that's the whole point of unity, and we really do need to start actually all working on that. So everybody really should be out there publicising Long March for Freedom. You should be getting your groups ready to come on board. It's a peaceful and lawful march. We're not putting out too much information at the moment, but as I said, it's not a one-day march, so you will need camping equipment. You will need money to get some supplies. There's some videos already that we've done on this YouTube page, and we're going to do some more in the next week or two on it. I believe we've had you on before, Nobbin. We discussed like Long March to Freedom, stuff like that.
Yep.
This is where we put up or shut up. This is where we act within the law, and we start bringing about these solutions, and this is the start of it. This is a culmination of all of our work all coming together, and it's a beautiful thing if we actually really do put up the effort into it. Like I said, we've all played a massive part in what can be the solution to all of this. We just need to bring that all together.
Yeah,
Basically,
like you say.
Solutions there. You just need the people, the numbers, to enact that solution. Because
that's the problem, though, getting the numbers, mate.
I know, yeah, but that's basically what you're going to have to need, because without the numbers, the government's just going to give the middle finger. But when they see the numbers, you know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just need to point out, just in case people misinterpret what I said earlier, we was hypothetically speaking and using case law as examples. We wasn't saying anything about going out or encouraging anybody to go out in any channel and maybe put themselves in a situation. We're just speaking how, like, a barrister would speak to a client, to try and get a lesser charge, or trying to find a way.
I'll second
that's
that.
it. Yeah, I just want to point out, because some people might take the context wrong from that, because I know what people are like.
I want to second that, and I want to state for the record that nothing we have said on this show is to incite racial hatred, violence, or the breach of any crime. This is a hypothetical discussion, and these discussions are going to have to be had more and more and more, because we are going to have to separate the wheat from the chaff. So that we are going to have to discuss some very, I would say, very wrong hypothetical situations, as well as some good hypothetical situations, and we're going to have to start actually all coming collectively to the right ideas and the right intentions. So again, to back up what Active said, nothing that has been said on this show is to incite racial hatred, to incite violence, or to the breach of any laws or harm to any persons.
No.
Yeah, from one fisherman to another. 1 minute. Wait, my camera's facing the wrong way, is it? Oh, my camera's facing the wrong way. I don't know if this will come out good. We'll see that.
Yep.
What's that, Grimsby?
Yep.
Come on, man. I'm from the fishing capital of the world, mate.
Actually, that's the part of history that has long been forgotten. Grimsby it used to be, literally, it was one of the most biggest ports that was fishing ports that was active, and actually for a very, very long time. You'd have to go back to, I think it's probably 1800s to get any better. Grimsby is a massive part of our history. It's like most of our steel industries, our fishing industries have all been destroyed. It's places like Grimsby that has been destroyed for a very good reason, because they had to destroy our industries to give it over to the EU, because that was the plan.
Mate, he demolished their football team as well.
What was that? Milton Keynes Dons.
No, mate, I'm Watford, mate.
Oh yeah, you Watford. Oh, where do you live? Oh shit! I just doxed you.
Don't worry, mate. I always dox myself.
Anyway, it's been really good chatting to you all. Anyway,
it has been Active. You need to come on more. So we're doing this more regularly, so you can give a proper update. And we definitely we need to start having more discussions across the board.
Like you say, I'm going to start doing Twitter Spaces, like a radio podcast show on a night time in a couple of weeks when this has died down, because I was trying to set it up anyway, but it's going to be called Radioactive, because it's going to be the most toxic radio station on the internet. Like you say, we've got 70,000 followers on there, so we've got a big reach.
Exactly, and this is the thing. Is like most people sort of have are aware of this. I know I spoke to you about it, Nobby, myself and Gary about it. We are literally just putting the final touches to it and final bits of setting it all up. But myself and Gary and a small group are going to be releasing Resistance Radio UK. This it will be a no censorship platform, things like that, to the point where it is not on any mainstream platform. This is a private server, so we are not bound by the rules of things like YouTube, Twitter, and stuff like that. So Resistance Radio UK will be coming soon, and it will be the unfettered, unrestricted, uncensored truth.
Then you got to get active on.
No, that's the whole point of setting up this radio now, so people that are active can come on, and he doesn't have to be censored.
Yeah, mate, get me on then. Yeah, I love to wag my tongue.
Can I just say, I've just realised the chat, fucking J Topper, what a top guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Thank you for everyone in the chat that's put your input in. Thank you for the questions. Sorry if we've missed any. We'll try and pick them up on the next one. Thank you all for doing this. I think we'll wrap it up there and look forward to the next time. But thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you everyone who tunes in. Thank you everyone that's going to watch this in the future. Thank you for every single person that looks into anything we've said tonight. And thank you for all your support. I'm sure that Active and Nobby are saying the same thing. We appreciate every single one of you.
Yeah. It's good to catch up with you, Active. Good to catch up with you, Nobby.
We'll have to do it again sometime, like you say. And cheers everyone in your chat, because I've just seen a lot of my followers in your chat. Punk and Disorderly, Disband, Dodgy Spike, J Tomo, all you. Good on you,
I think Jay Toffer, that would be for me and Gary for quite a while. I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, it's like many of these people are aware of the people that have been doing this for a long time. It's just a lot of us get deplatformed or censored and things like that. So just because you don't see us all the time doesn't mean that we're not still doing it, and doesn't mean that we're not doing the bulk of it. So stay tuned.
Usually means we're on a ban.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, cheers guys. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything you do. It's invaluable. I can't thank you enough, really.
Thank you, mate. And last thing from me is to Punk and Disorderly, Action, Patriot, and out.
Right, well, I'll wrap it up there. Right, thank you for joining us, boys. We'll have you on a regular basis for updates, and we'll see you all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, lovely.
Cheers, guys.
Right.
Cheers, everybody.
All right, night.